Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
You have failed this city.
Wow. I know, right? Hey! Quit messing around!
I'm not messing around. I'm doing important stuff.
Welcome.
A man.
Gives you the right. What's the difference between you and me?
I'm not wearing hockey pads.
But that is being human.
Going on. There we go. I'm not muted anymore. I do that all the time. I really need to stop doing that. Anyways, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Watchtower. We're gonna talk some DC stuff. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. As my dog is annoying. Anyway, so the main thing I want to talk about this week is James Gunn, because that's been the talk of the town. I mean, everybody has this idea that they know what's going to happen to James Gunn. I mean, I've talked about it. We've heard from people like Cosmic Book News, Aaron Fisher, and heck, I even saw Christian Harloff talking about it. I mean, there is so much discussion around what is going on with James Gunn. Is he going to be around? Is he not going to be around? What's going on with James Gunn? So that's going to be the main discussion here, because I want to discuss, one, is it a good idea for them to get rid of him? Will it be a good idea for them to get rid of him? If so, or like yes or no, why not, all that kind of stuff. That's going to be the main topic. But first, there's a couple little things, just a couple, that we're going to talk about that came up this week, over the last couple days, actually. So we'll get into that, but let's see who is here right now. First up, we have Trayvon. He says, here I am. What's going on? He says, Warner Music Group, where are you? Well, I don't. Look, I know what you're saying. I just don't think that's going to be the outcome. Critic Chris is in here. Says, hey, Trayvon. Jalen's in here. Says, hello. Derpy Entertainment's here. Says, sup, guys? What's going on, Derpy? Derpy says, I would have asked to be on, but I literally just got home, Slav. That's all right, man. That's okay. Maybe next week. Derpy said no audio. Yeah, I know. Look, come on. You know how I am. Like I press all these buttons on the thing here, and I forget to click the mute and unmute button, all that stuff. I'm terrible. I'm terrible with stuff, guys. You know. Hunter Iggy says, what are your thoughts on James Gunn posted the picture of the storyboard sequence? Well, I'll talk about that. I will get to that. But the first thing I want to talk about here, because I think this is really cool. This is really fun and interesting. So I do want to talk about this. Come on. Oh, I got to press that button. See, I need a producer is what I need. Warner Brothers has submitted Superman for awards consideration across multiple top categories. That includes Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor. But the studio is also backing the film in key supporting and craft categories. Now, obviously, I could scroll down through it, and you're not going to be able to really see here. So what I'm going to do for you is enlarge that right there for you. So these are the for your consideration for Superman. And this is real exciting. I'm telling you this is exciting because, one, this shows the confidence that Warner Brothers has in this movie. Look at the slew of films that have come out from Warner Brothers this past year that have been successful. And Superman is one of the ones that they decided to put out for the for-year consideration for the awards. That's huge. That is huge. And the reason why I want to bring that up is because there's so much discussion around James Gunn about how there's no confidence in him and they don't appreciate what he's done and they think that he's a failure and yada, yada, yada. Well, they wouldn't be putting his film up for awards for their consideration for awards if they thought it wasn't worthy of such. Now, I do admit, out of all of these potential nominations that it could get, I don't believe that a lot of these are possible for him out of all the films that have come out this year. But I do think that there are a few on here that he could very well get nominated for and has a shot to win. Now I'm going to go through them here. Best Picture, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Actor for David Corenswet, Best Supporting Actress, Rachel Brosnahan, and Isabella Merced. Now, I want to go through these ones real quick here because Best Picture would fall under, for Peter Safran and James Gunn, the whole, kit and caboodle essentially for the film. But what I want to say is, look, as much as you may like this movie, as much as I may like this movie, as much as a lot of people may like it, when you have movies like Sinners, when you have movies, other films that are more genre related and, award darlings out there, Superman's not going to be one of those films that gets put in that category for a nomination. They put it there because why not? What's the worst that could happen? It could get nominated. They could put it up there because it was a massive, darling for the audience. People loved it, but not a great chance for that. Best Director for James Gunn. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's out of the realm of possibility, but it's not often that you see a director for these comic book movies get this nomination. So I would kind of, temper your expectations for those two particular nominations. Best Adapted Screenplay. I would say this is not out of the realm of possibility, but not one of the ones that I would sit there and say, yes, this is one of the best chances to happen, because I don't think it is. But honestly, I haven't watched enough movies this year like I want to sit there and say, like, yes, this is definitely a shoo-in for a nomination. But I'm going to sit here and say, look, I've heard enough and I know enough, to realize, like, and I watched Superman, and look, I enjoy the movie, but I don't think that this is going to get this nomination. Best Actor David Corenswet. Look, he did great in the role, and I could absolutely see in this year where there's not a lot of talk for discussions on actors and actresses. I can see a possibility of him maybe getting a nomination, but I still think it's a long shot. But hey, you never know. Same goes with Rachel Brosnahan and Isabel Merced. Then you have your supporting actors in Nicholas Hoult, Edie Gathegi, Anthony Carrigan, Nathan Fillion. Kind of falls in the same line. Best casting. That kind of falls in line with the actor, supporting actress, and actor, that kind of thing. Maybe it could. Henry Braham for cinematography. Look, I think that's one of the weaker parts of the movie is the cinematography. I'm not saying it's terrible like some people say, but I think it is one of the weaker parts. I am probably going to say no, that's not going to get in there. Best film editing. I'm kind of shocked they put that up for it because that was one of the major complaints from critics and audience. So I don't see that getting it. Now, this is where we start getting into the things that I think have a shot to getting nominated and even win, such as Best Production Design, because I think the production design was beautiful. I think there was a lot of this design of this production and different aspects of this film were absolutely beautiful. Best Costume Design. Look, I mean, I would laugh my ass off if this movie won Best Costume Design. I would laugh my ass off, especially with how much people ragged on the Superman costume. Do I think it's going to happen? Maybe not, but I would laugh my ass off. Best makeup and hairstyling. Again, I think it's possible, but I don't think there's anything over the top here that I would sit there and say, hey, with the exception of Anthony Carrigan and the role of wow, just left my mind right there. But you know what I'm saying? Like his makeup and his design was absolutely incredible. Best sound. I mean, the sound design and everything in that regard was great. That's another aspect that could very well be up for nomination and possibly win. Visual effects, I think, were fantastic in this movie. I think that's a possibility. Look, I'm not a big fan of the original or the score for this. I thought it was okay. I'm curious on how they can go with original score when they took a lot of pieces of the music from John Williams. I can't believe that could be used or called original score. So that's a little iffy there. But even if they did, allow it to pass through as original score, I don't think it's strong enough to win. And then best original song, okay, whatever. I mean, maybe you could do that, but not so much. But again, it's exciting, it's fun, it's interesting to see them do this. It's great to see that they have the confidence in this movie to do this, to really put them out there. And look, I have no doubt in my mind that it's going to get some nominations. And I have a feeling that there is a possibility that it will win a couple of those nominations. It's not going to win the big ones. I don't think it's going to win the big ones. So don't get your hopes up. I mean, it'd be great if it did. But I think some of these production ones, I think you're going to see it hit one or two of those for sure. It does have some stiff competition when it comes to Fantastic Four, because I think some of the production side of things with Fantastic Four were really good as well. So it's going to have some competition there. But besides that, I think overall, I think this film has a chance to hit some of those. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. All right. What do you guys have to say over here? Whole bunch of people. Bass Reeves, I'm here to cause trouble. Restore the Snyderverse. Okay. I mean, did you watch my video from this morning, from earlier today? Watch that video, and you'll see it's not going to cause a stir for me. Hunter Iggy, all the Snyder Bros believe what Cosmic Book News. Yeah. Bass Reeves, all BS. That movie won't win nothing. Okay. Trayvon says not even Superman Returns or Man of Steel got that. No, you're right. Neither one of those movies got the confidence from Warner Brothers to be put up for your consideration. Now, the one thing that people need to understand is for your consideration is simply just, hey, for your consideration for nominations. That's all it is. Some people are sitting there acting like they know that they think they're going to win awards. No, they're just trying to say, hey, can we maybe get some awards here? Maybe get some awards, maybe. So, yeah, that's all that really is. Let's see. Bass says they're doing to save his job. Well, this is Warner Brothers. This isn't DC Studios. So I don't know what that has to do with anything. If DC or if Warner Brothers wants to keep James Gunn, they just hand him a contract. That's simple. I mean, I don't know what to tell you about that. Let's see. Trayvon says, as much as I adore Superman, I'll be very surprised if it gets nominated, let alone win the best pick. Yeah, it's not going to, like I said, it's not going to get nominated for that or win. The Watcher, it will win a couple things, most likely. Probably makeup, set designs, etc. Yeah, somewhere in that production side of things, I'm confident it'll hit at least one, maybe two of those. Not all of them. It's not going to sweep, a bunch of stuff. Like, it may only get one nomination. I mean, that's the thing. But I think that's the area that you should look at it really hitting. Again, award season is very, very weird because they don't like to put on display these tentpole films. They don't. They just don't like to do it. Now, first off, I'm not going to sit here and say that Superman deserves to have its place on the best actor and the best picture stage. I'm not sitting here saying that. There are times when I think some of these big tentpole films do deserve to be there. I do. But I'm not sitting here saying that Superman does. But yeah, I think some of these other production things, I think they will absolutely get that. And my dog keeps coming over here and wanting me to pet him. What's up, buddy? Okay. Nope. Okay. All right. Walk away. Walk away. Okay. Let's see. Trayvon says this is an egg to the faces of those who were screaming that Superman didn't have a lasting impact. Let's see. Bassreed says Man of Steel is visually better than Superman 2025 and didn't get put up for awards like that. Well, it didn't get put up by awards or for awards like that because the regime at Warner Brothers at the time didn't have confidence in it. Look, I am a huge Man of Steel fan. It is my favorite superhero film. I agree. Man of Steel is a better superhero film than Superman, in my opinion. That's my opinion. Now, I get it. But I also do think that David Cornsweet is a better Superman. I will say that. But that's what happens. Like, you can't sit here and blame Zaslav for something that Time Warner didn't do back in 2013. You know, you can't. It is what it is. I mean, you just move on. Happy 3D Model says DC Studios his own thing. I don't know why people keep saying that James Gunn is going to be fired. I'll quickly explain it to you. So Warner Brothers is the owner of DC Studios, essentially. Like, I'll simplify it. Warner Brothers owns DC Studios. David Zaslav, the CEO, the head of Warner Brothers Discovery, is the one who would hire, fire, and, make the decisions on who is running DC Studios. He's the one that hired James Gunn and Peter Safran. He gave him the 4-year contract. And with that 4-year contract, he has the ability to extend James Gunn and Safran at any point in time. Now, right now, there's a lot of discussion going on with the potential sale or merger or something of Warner Brothers Discovery. If a company comes in, let's just say Paramount, which is led and headed up by David Ellison. If Paramount comes in and takes over Warner Brothers Discovery, David Ellison, being the owner, would then have that same power to say, okay, I want this person running DC Studios. I want this person running Warner Brothers Pictures. I want this person running New Line Cinema. I want this person running this. Like HBO, the HBO division. I want this. Like, that's what the head of that conglomerate does. So that's why a lot of people are saying that. That's why people are saying that James Gunn is going to be, quote unquote, fired. The thing is what a lot of people don't seem to understand is, one, his contract is up in 2026, November, the end of October of 2026. My guess is because he has so many things on the table to get done, he'll probably get an extension before then. That's my assessment of it. With that, any deal that gets done with Warner Brothers getting sold is going to take 12 to 24 months to get through regulators, both internationally and domestically. So in the US and Europe and Asia, all that kind of stuff, it has to go through regulators. It could take up to 2 years. So during that 2-year span, David Zaslav, the head of Warner Brothers Discovery, is still going to be the one making the decisions and hiring and giving contracts out to run these studios as he sees fit. So during that time, if James Gunn has a couple hits, if Supergirl does what they want it to do, Clayface is good, Lanterns is great, if that all works out for him, he's going to get a contract. He's going to get an extension, no problem, if not before then. So that's the kind of the thing. Then when this new company comes in, if they sit there and see, oh man, these projects did well then they're not going to sit there and say, well, you've got 5 or 6 good projects, let's just fire you. No, they're going to sit there and say, okay, well, he's had some success. Let's see if he continues to have the success. And people just aren't using their minds properly. They sit there and they make it political and they say, well, David Ellison is a conservative. James Gunn is a liberal, and David Ellison comes in, he's going to fire all the liberals. Well, no, he's not going to do. That's not how smart businessmen work. But that's besides the point. That was a quick overview of how people are thinking and what's going on. So there you have it. All right. The Watcher. Do you remember the controversy when Wonder Woman 17 got nominated for an Oscar but was denied because J-Lo whined that her stripper movie deserved it instead? No, I don't remember that, believe it or not. I probably talked about it on my podcast back then, but I don't remember it right now. I don't. Bass Reeves says, Gunn don't have the track record with Trump. If Paramount comes in, Gunn is gone. Trump has nothing to do with it. Look. Trump has nothing to do with it, Bass. Like he's literally like, sure, there's the story that came out today that said that he wants Paramount to get it, but Trump can't, like, he's not the one that's hiring or firing these studio heads. Like, it has nothing to do with it. And the thing is James Gunn's films are not as politically charged as some people will have you believe. Like, I call out a lot of movies I will call out if they're quote unquote woke or politically charged to one side. I will call them out. I have many, many times. James Gunn's films aren't that. They're not, because I'm somebody who will sit back and think logically. I won't think simply politically about these things. I will think logically. And I don't just go willy-nilly screaming, oh, leftist scum. Oh, this is a liberal mindset. Like, no, because that doesn't get you anywhere. That doesn't get you anywhere. It's dumb. So, no, it has nothing to do with Trump. It has nothing to do with Trump. The Watcher says, as soon as Gunn casts a Batman, all the haters will shut up instantly. Instantly, cause people adore Batman. I don't know. I don't know if that'll do it. I don't know. Critic Chris says Zack Snyder's a Democrat himself, like Gunn, so both wouldn't have a track record with Trump. I mean, the funny thing is, it's really funny. Again, I don't want to get too political here because it's pointless, but it really is funny to see how people act and bring up politics within the DC fandom sometimes, because like they sit there and act like James Gunn is this like hardcore leftist, minds numbing, politicized filmmaker. And then those same people that say that are huge Zack Snyder fans, who is probably more of a hardcore liberal than James Gunn is, but they don't call him those same things. It's just, it's so like maddening to me. It's again, I don't want to get political because there's no point to it here, because it's nonsense. Because like I'm a fan of Zack Snyder. I like his work. I like a lot of his work. I also like James Gunn. Like it's all stupid. It's all dumb. Like the things that people say is just so dumb sometimes. It really is. Happy 3D Model says Holt should win a nomination as Lex. Yeah. Hunter Iggy says Gunn and Snyder are opposite of each other. If you're talking politically, they aren't. They're not. Zack Snyder has, in the past, he has talked about his political stances in the past, but you can see in his movies, not DC movies, but you can see in a number of his movies how he does put a little bit of that left-leaning in his films a bit more. But again, it's not like anything like in your face. It's all right, critic. It's okay. All right. Okay. Let's move on to the next story here, because I just went off on a crazy tangent there, and let's kind of lighten the mood here because James Gunn had a little fun teasing the storyboards for Man of Tomorrow. Storyboard sequence number 3. Look at all that. Those are all for sequence number 3, the storyboards. Sequence number 3. Look, I think it's great. I love that he does his little teases. I do. I'm excited to see what he does with this movie, obviously. I can't wait to see Man of Tomorrow. I have to agree. There was somebody I saw on X who said, he should have shown us just a little picture. Like, even if it was something, ridiculous, just a little picture. I kind of agree. Like, give us a little bit more, James. Give us a little more. But I mean, that's just me wanting more. But no, honestly, I think this is fun. This is great. He's just thrown us a little bit. Like, look how far into it they are with Man of Tomorrow. Like, they are truly into it. He was talking in those interviews this past week with all those random YouTubers about different aspects of where the DCU is. And one of the things that stuck out to me was, I can't remember who it was with, but at one point he said that they were into making costumes already, getting costumes ready for Man of Tomorrow. But then, like, I sat there and thought about it, I was like, wait, that makes sense. They're planning on shooting in April, and they need to start getting costumes ready. They need to start getting sets ready. Like, it takes 5 to 6 months to really get all of this up and running and ready and going to, like, get ready to shoot. So it makes sense. And it's just, it's crazy to me that, believe it or not, like, that's how close we are to shooting this movie. Like, honestly, think about that for a second. Like, when they announced Man of Tomorrow, this was a couple months ago at this point, but we're sitting here at the end of October. It's basically November. They're planning on starting shooting in April. That's 6 months away. Like, that's just crazy to me. I mean, they're going to get through the holidays and then you're 4 months away. Like, it's speeding up to getting to the start of production for this movie, like principal photography. I for one, cannot wait. And we're going to get some, not behind the scenes, but, leaked photos from the set photos like we did with Superman. Of course, we're going to get them. But look, regardless, this is just exciting. And he's going to do the same stuff. He is. And it's exciting. It truly is exciting. But let me know your thoughts about the storyboards that he posted here. I'd love to hear your thoughts on all this. Do you think that's a crazy amount of storyboards? Do you think, I don't know, that seems like a lot to me, but I don't know. I've never storyboarded for a movie before, so I really don't know. I don't know. All right. The one quick thing I want to bring up that I don't have anything to pull up for is quickly just the Batman stuff that was talked about from Andy Muschietti. I made a video yesterday about it. I posted it. I just want to talk about it really quick. Just how I want to give you my quick take on it. And I want to hear what you guys have to say. Batman. So Muschietti kind of slipped up at the red carpet for it. Welcome to Derry. That in a couple months, in a few months, couple or a few months, he says, we're going to start hearing some news on Brave and the Bold or the DCU Batman. Personally, like I said in my video last night, I believe the reason for that. Now remember how I said this here. Like, I would, and the reason why I bring it up here is because just talking about these storyboards for Man of Tomorrow, and you're 6 months away. During that point in time, like, I know casting for movies can go up to right before production and even sometimes into production. You're casting for movies and stuff. We've seen that happen. I have a feeling, I'm telling you, I really, really have a feeling that they're waiting to cast their Batman And then they're going to have a big announcement. But here's the thing. What I think is going to happen is Andy Muschietti was busy. And I do think because of the way he was talking about it and how excited he kind of seemed about it, I think he's still very much a part of it. Does that mean he's going to be the director, a producer? Like what he's going to do, I'm not sure. But I do think he's very much a part of it still. But I think because he was so busy with It Welcome to Derry, I think they got their script done. I think he probably read the script. I think he's all in on whatever portion, however he's going to be part of it. And I think what they're going to do is between now and by the end of the year, maybe a little, maybe even into January, they're going to start the casting process for Batman for the DCU. And they want to get that casting done because I truly believe that they are going to be in Man of Tomorrow. I don't think they want to go 3 years or 4 years, 3 years into the DCU. And what would it be? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, probably 6 or 7 projects before showcasing their Batman. I don't think James wants to do that. So I honestly think what they're going to do is they're going to cast their Batman. I think they're going to make an announcement. And I saw somebody put it here. Who was it? Aaron World Order. That's somebody new. I haven't seen you here. Welcome, Aaron World Order. And announce the release date for the Batman movie. That's what I think they're going to do. And the reason why I think they're going to do it that way, because then what it does is they announce an actor, they announce a release date, as well as director. They'll confirm the director. So here's the director, here's the actor, here's the release date. And then people aren't going to then think, or logically, I mean, there's going to be people that theorize like I do, but there's going to be people that are going to be like, oh, cool, we know this information now. Nobody's going to be sitting there thinking he's going to pop up in Man of Tomorrow. Well, most people won't. But I think that's what I just have this suspicion. I have this suspicion that that's what they're going to do. If not, that'll suck. That'll suck. But I just think that would be the smart move also. If you have the script, if you have the director, start your casting process now. Because why not? Start the casting process now. And I guarantee he has a spot for him in Man of Tomorrow. I guarantee it. He does. But let me know your thoughts about that. I want to know what you have to say because I just, that's what I think. I don't think there's any other way to do it. I don't. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let's see. Where are we at over here? I saw some things pop up. Let's see. Jalen says, I'm so ready for this movie. Arturo? I'm sorry if I said that wrong. Slavs crying for James Gunn. Oh, okay. Sure. Critic Chris, I'd see Brainiac to appear in a solo Superman film and return as the big baddie in a JL movie. Happy 3D model. I'm so excited for Man of Tomorrow, as am I. Trayvon says, I've come to the realization that most of the DC Marvel fandom consists of dumb, panicky, dangerous animals, and it's sad. The Watcher, mark my words. I'm telling you, once Gunn casts his Batman, the Gunn haters will just boop disappear. Be fine. It'd be nice if they did. Jalen says, I know it's not confirmed or anything, but Slav, who would you want to see play Brainiac? The one name that I heard that I really was enticed with was what's his name? It just lost Giancarlo Esposito. He's a little older, I know, but just his way of talking, his demeanor, everything like that. Like, I think he would be really cool, calm, collected the way he talks. I think he'd be a really cool Brainiac. Again, I know he's a little older, but you could throw him in some prosthetics and stuff like that, and he'd be perfectly fine. But I think he'd be a cool Brainiac for sure. Just because of the voice, the cool calmness, that kind of thing. Watcher says, people are Batman crazy. Everybody loves Batman. Trayvon says, major changes to Brave and the Bold plus dynamic duos being written or rewritten. Yeah, I know. Like that. We talked about the dynamic duo thing changing, what was it, like a month or two ago? And I said that because of that, that has something to do with that. Like, I'm telling you, it all has, one has everything to do with the other. I'm telling you. Arturo says they're selling Warner Brothers and nothing can stop it. Yeah. I mean, we all knew in 2022 that was the plan. We knew when Zaslav came in that his plan was eventually to sell Warner Brothers. And because of that, when he decided, like, hey, I'm going to sell Warner Brothers, like when we knew he was going to do that, like we knew eventually it was going to happen. Like, I don't know why people think this is some big monumental surprise. Jalen says, hey, Aaron. Which one's Aaron? I don't know. Aaron World Order. That's it. Okay. Sorry. I don't know who Aaron World Order is. Have you been here before, man? I'm sorry. I've never seen you before. Let's see. The Watcher thinks he's already been cast. Batman, that is. I don't know about that. James just said on one of the things that he has not been cast, but who knows? I mean, it's possible, but I don't think it is. I don't think he has been cast. I don't. I really don't. But all right, here. We're going to move on to the next topic. Now, I'm sure you all saw. All right, puppy, back up. Back up, puppy. I'm sure we all saw the Boba Talks interview with James Gunn. And I'm sure we then saw how Cosmic Book News decided to like twist the interview and make it fit their narrative on how it could, like, James Gunn was like unsure about his future and things like that. Well, here, if you didn't see it, let's play the clip here.
So,
oops, that's not right. Where did it go? What the heck? Oh, wait, here we go. Add to stage.
curious about is you've read.
Here we go.
Absolutely. So one thing I've been really curious about is you've referenced things like Peacemaker Season 2 and Lanterns setting up different threads and arcs. How far do these arcs go? Like, do they culminate in Man of Tomorrow, or can we expect them to go further than that?
Yes, they definitely go significantly further than Man of Tomorrow.
Okay.
So
Okay.
now, whether or not that'll be me that's able to fulfill that promise depends on a lot of things in life. But yeah.
Okay. So this is the clip that everyone decided, not everyone, but Cosmic Book Chaos or whatever, Cosmic Book News or whatever the heck they're called. It's the one that they decided to kind of run with, like, specifically. And here, let me play it again.
That promise depends on me that's able to, whether or not that'll be me that's able to fulfill that promise depends on a lot of things in life.
Okay. So whether that or not that'll be me that gets to fulfill that promise. And he's talking about the overall continuation and the story that he has for the DCU. Now, let's think about this logically, okay? Now, there's some people who sit there and say, look, James Gunn's almost 60 years old. And you're not wrong. He is almost 60 years old. And because of that, he could be just talking about, look, he may not want to be doing this well into his 60s. He may not want to do this until he's 70. That's one. Some people are saying, well, look, it could be because his contract's up next year. And who knows if it's going to get renewed? He doesn't know yet because they haven't had those discussions. So he has no knowledge if that's going to happen yet. That's fine. He can talk about that. Number two, he could very well be discussing or insinuating, look, we don't know what's going to happen with these sales. We don't know. Anything can happen. And that's very true as well. But this does not mean that he is uncertain about himself. It doesn't mean that he's not sure, like that he's doing a good job. Zaslav has stated on his calls with shareholders and everything how happy he is with what DC Studios has done. You can see with the 4-year consideration, they're happy with Superman. Look, they've done a lot to showcase how happy they are with what James Gunn and Peter Safran have done so far, because they have done a hell of a job at DC Studios. Regardless of what a lot of people want to say, they've done a good job thus far at DC Studios. So keep that in mind. But here's the thing, okay? Because why letting James Gunn go in 2026 or beforehand, why that could be the biggest mistake of comic book movie genre. It really could be, okay? And that's what I want to talk about. This is specifically what I want to talk about. Look, this isn't going to be a piece simply because I'm a James Gunn fan. This isn't me sitting here saying, oh, I love the Superman movie and you can't get rid of James Gunn because I love the Superman movie and I need to see the rest of what he's making. No, it's not because of that. There's legit business ramifications for what's going on at DC Studios right now. What's going on right now and what could be going on in the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. And I'm going to go through that right here in this article. Okay. Now, keep in mind, it could be announced tomorrow that James Gunn gets a contract extension. And that would make sense. It could be announced next year that they're deciding not to extend James Gunn. And he just goes off into the sunset. I am also going to explain in this the different options that the studio would have if they decide to go in that direction and not keep James Gunn. You see, I'm not going to just sit here and say, hey, they have to keep James Gunn. This is why. No, I'm going to say, look, I'm going to explain. If they don't keep James Gunn, this is what they should do. If they do keep James Gunn, which they should do, this is why. Okay? So don't sit here and think that I'm just, hey, they must keep James Gunn because I need to see Superman or I need to see more of his stuff. Look, I'm a James Gunn fan. I'm a Zack Snyder fan. I'm a DC fan first, though. I just want to see DC succeed. I want to see Superman, not necessarily this Superman, but a Superman. I want to see Batman content. I want to see Green Lantern content, Flash content on the big screen, on television screens. That's what I want to see. Whether it's James Gunn in charge or someone else, I just want to see it. But let's get going on this. Because I think a lot of you will see this, and there's going to be a lot of points that a lot of things here that will be pointed out that a lot of people don't think of. Because most people run off of emotion, and that is the thing. That is the thing. Ben from Real Anarchy here, he says, to be objective, Abney and DeLuca's contract was up next year, and they got their contract renewed, but not Gunn. But he did pay himself $20 million to direct three films. So who knows what's going on? I love your point in being objective, and that's the thing. That's what I tried to do here with this little article is to be objective. Because yes, being objective is important with this because people want to jump all over you if you're not being objective. And you're right. DeLuca and Abney did get their contracts renewed a year in advance. But also, let's not bat an eye at the year that Abney and DeLuca had this year. because January, February, and March, everybody was screaming, fire them. They thought they were going to get fired. People thought there was rumors that they were going to get replaced. There was rumors that Safran was going to take over for them. Let's not forget that. But then, you had Sinners, you had Minecraft, you had F1, you had not Superman. I can't remember. Like, what was it? A run of 7 movies that all opened over $40 million, a box office record for all time. Like, they had an amazing run this year, and Zaslav was like, "Look, I like here, like that you get this because of good work." James Gunn and Peter Safran have had an animated show, a movie, and a television show. Now, the Penguin, while yes, that did come out under DC Studios, wasn't technically fully under them. So yeah, that's hard to, like, you can't necessarily, like, look, that's DC Studios, great work. But that was in movement prior to James Gunn. I would still give that win to James Gunn and Peter Safran, but I can understand why Zaslav might be like, look, you great job with that, but you weren't the creative force behind it. Okay. So I get why Zaslav might sit there and say, look, you haven't proven enough yet. And I'm going to get into that here. You haven't proven enough yet. All right. So I want people to remember that the future of DC Studios isn't just about heroes on screen. It's about leadership behind the curtain. If you like it or not, James Gunn represents the first real cohesive creative direction this brand has had in more than a decade. It's true. Prior to this, we had Walter Hamada, which it was a bit of a mess under Walter Hamada. There was always this talk and rumor that he had an idea and there was a plan, but we never saw that plan come to fruition as an audience. We never saw any of the pieces fall in line for that plan. So when it comes to the perception, this is truly the first cohesive creative direction that we've seen for DC in more than a decade. Now, walking away from him after 2026 would then lead us to having more than a leadership change. It would be a return to chaos. And if we're being honest, Warner Brothers and DC cannot afford another reset. Specifically, DC cannot afford that. It just can't. After years of box office flops, behind-the-scenes messes, and studio panic, DC finally hit reset with Superman. It was the opening salvo of a new cinematic universe, and removing Gunn right after launching this reboot would nuke any sense of stability before it can fully take root. This isn't theoretical. DC already lived this nightmare in 2017, when leadership decided to shift mid-universe, which led to a creative collapse. If a future owner of Warner Brothers Discovery decided not to reboot, but continue Gunn's foundation with new leadership, it's a Frankenstein patch job, just like we saw done by Walter Hamada. If they do a reboot, that means a third cinematic universe in under a decade. In the eyes of the audience, that's not a bold new direction. That's a brand no one can trust. And when an audience don't trust your universe, they don't invest emotionally or financially. And that is a huge part of this whole thing. That is a huge, first off, that's something that the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery or Paramount or Netflix or Apple or Amazon or whomever of Comcast would look at. They would understand, like, we can't just go in there and just once again just wreck shop. We just can't do it. That's number one. Stability builds investor confidence. Leadership changes don't just ripple through storylines, they shake confidence on Wall Street and in Hollywood. James Gunn and Safran represent the most stable DC leadership in years. New ownership axing them would would be read by investors as a chaotic signal. Here we go again. That hurts stock perception, slows deal making, and makes long-term talent wary. For a studio that desperately needs a strong financial spine, that's a killer. Look at Marvel Studios under Feige. Love or hate the movies, the industry respects the consistency. That's a competitive advantage DC has never had. Then you have the fact that it creates continuity. It attracts creative continuity. A shared universe lives and dies on the pipeline, the writers, directors, actors who commit to it. Gunn has already drawn in strong talent who believes in his vision. Wiping the slate again would scatter that momentum overnight. Big name actors don't sign on to unstable franchises. They sign onto clear visions. Gunn is that vision right now. Yank him out too early, and you're not just losing a showrunner, you're losing your creative backbone. This is where things get interesting that I think is one of the areas that people most overlook, though. Every reboot isn't just a press release. It's hundreds of millions of dollars in marketing and rebranding, and that's money Warner Brothers has wasted more than once since Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. A second reboot this decade would mean another burned pile of cash. Just simply trying to re-educate the audience. Gunn's world is already built. It's cheaper and smarter to finish the story you started than to torch it halfway through. Gunn's tonal pivot of brighter, character-driven, and more hopeful is slowly reshaping DC's global identity. This isn't something that happens overnight. And this is something that we talked about a year ago. We talked about this. So replacing him too early would confuse audiences, fracture branding, and undo early progress. If DC wants to step out of Marvel's shadow and establish his own voice, it needs consistency, not another creative carousel. Now, I talk about some of Gunn's, like his really what makes him really good at what he does, which is, taking the unknown characters and making them known, which is something he does. So yeah, we can get the Batmans, the Supermans, the Wonder Womans and stuff like that, but he can take the mid-tier characters like your Hawk Girls or your Mr. Terrifics and things like that and make them big and make them exciting. Or your Creature Commandos or your Peacemakers and things like that, which he's done. He has done. Rebooting again could detonate the fandom. I'm not going to beat around the bush here. The DC fandom is 100% fractured. You've got diehard Snyder fans on one side, casual fans on the other, and people just now warming to James Gunn's approach. Another reboot this soon would be pouring gasoline on the fire that's barely contained. Keeping Gunn doesn't make everyone happy, but stability eventually unites where chaos always divides. Another hard reset just gives everyone a new battlefield to fight on. Now, a natural exit, not a forced one, might be the best way to handle it for James Gunn, though. And this is something that people may not like to hear, but Gunn isn't likely to stick around forever. He'll be pushing 60 within the next year, extending his contract, say 2, 4, 5, 6 years, something like that. Get him to finish his arc, deliver the first big crossover event, and then maybe pass the torch cleanly. A planned handoff is what the DCEU never got. This time, though, DC has the chance to do it right. And perhaps that should be the plan. Discuss with him what the next 3 to 5 years look like with ownership and how James Gunn can not just finish the story, but set up the future for the next incoming creative voice. Interesting. Here's the thing. He's doing this whole Superman saga right now. He's going to set up Batman, set up Wonder Woman, and I'm sure he's going to want to get to a Justice League. Perhaps he gets to that Justice League. So he gets to that. And that's where he bows out. He says, look, I gave it a shot. I did it. I did what I planned to do. I wanted to tell this story, told this story. I built this universe. And now I'm going to let this person go from there. That's a real possibility. That is a possibility. And one that I think is maybe the best way to do it. So if you don't have Gunn, then what? Well, the question that no one really has an answer for, but if a future owner really doesn't want Gunn, the only sensible fallback is abandoning the shared universe model entirely. So what I'm saying is, if David Ellison came in and he was just like, nope, I don't want James Gunn, he's gone, get rid of him, boot him out the door, I think that's it. I think the idea and the thought of a shared universe needs to just be thrown out the window. I think you need to just throw it away. No more shared universe idea. Let Marvel have their shared universe. They've been successful with it. DC has tried twice with no success in the last 20 years. That's it. Leave it alone. Move on. I'm not saying do umpteen Batman movies because that's what a lot of people have been saying. I've even said that myself. But what I think is to just hire a tour of film directors and filmmakers, hire smart filmmakers who want and have ideas for DC films. And I'm going to use Christopher Nolan as an example. Christopher Nolan had an idea for a Batman movie. He came in, pitched a Batman movie. They liked it. It did well. It ended up becoming a trilogy. Boom, done. Move on. Next director. What do you want to do? I want to do a Superman movie. Okay, who's in it? Oh, this Superman movie is going to have Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, and this person. Okay, what's the story? We like the story. Let's make it. All right, we make the movie. It does well. Do you have any more? Yeah, I have 3 more movies I want to do. Okay, let's do the next one. And then you build this little pocket, and you just keep building these little pockets. They're not connected universes. These movies aren't going to last for 10, 15 years. No, they're just little secluded universes, essentially little universes, mini universes that go on, and they just get made. And they're just good, secluded stories that you just move forward with. But the kicker here is you don't look backward. And that's going to piss some people off. But you don't look backward because no company, I won't say no company, but companies rarely succeed in looking backwards. You don't look backwards because you got to your failures from your past. So learn from your mistakes from your past and just keep moving forward. So something like resurrecting the Snyderverse, no, don't do that. It's dead, it's gone, it's in the past. Now, if Zack Snyder wants to come back to DC, ask him, all right, pitch me something new. What do you got? What do you want to do? Oh, you want to do a live action version of The Dark Knight Returns? All right. What does that sound like? What does it look like? If it sounds good, if it's within budget, let him do it. But that, I think, is the best play if they decide to fire James Gunn and get rid of James Gunn. I think at that point, you don't do a large shared universe. But is that the smartest play? See, Gunn hasn't failed. He hasn't. He hasn't even been given a chance to fully succeed. That's the biggest problem. That's the biggest issue right now is people sit here and are acting like James Gunn is this massive failure at DC. But he hasn't failed. He hasn't even had the chance to fully succeed. He hasn't done anything that would sit there and necessitate these accusations of him being a massive failure. Nothing. All of these accusations of Superman being a massive flop or Peacemaker being a massive flop are greatly exaggerated. Greatly exaggerated. They are. And that's the thing. Look, I can sit here and confidently say, okay, I can confidently say that Superman is not a massive flop. It is not. Superman is not a massive flop. I can confidently say that Peacemaker is not a massive flop. Peacemaker season 2 was not a massive flop. But people want to twist the narrative to make it seem like these things were flops and were bad. See, in a landscape where comic book films are already fighting for relevance, ripping away your most stable element would be suicide. This isn't about fan wars. It's about brand health, investor confidence, creative continuity, cost efficiency, and global strategy. Like it or not, Gunn represents all of it. Extending his contract for a few more years isn't just a good idea. It might be the only smart play. So that is what I wanted to talk about today. And I saw the comments in here. I saw people sitting here saying, oh, well, say goodbye to James Gunn. He's gone. He's not going to be around. Look, here's the thing. Whether he sticks around or not, Warner Brothers, whoever owns Warner Brothers, whoever owns DC Studios, it's not going to be in a good place when that sale happens, because it's going to be a very difficult choice for them. If they come in and James Gunn is still there and they decide, you know what, we're going to stick with James Gunn. James Gunn just continues moving forward as he does. That's great. That's the smart play. Let him finish off 3 to 5 years. Let's see how it works. Look, if he gets a total of, because you figure Superman was really the start of the universe in 2025. You give him another 5-year contract that takes him to 2026, so 2031-ish, 2031. So that's a total of 6 years to prove himself, essentially. That's it. 6 years to prove himself as a studio head. If he can't prove himself in that 6 years, okay, you get rid of him. That gives him plenty of time to showcase if he can succeed or not. But here's the thing. If they come in and they get rid of him immediately, they then have the decision to make, do we continue off of the foundation he built, or do we start fresh and new and do something else? And I can assure you that both options, that it's not going to end well, because they're not going to do what I said here. You know, they're not going to do what I said. They're going to want to try and do the Marvel thing and make a whole new universe if they reboot again, and it's just not going to work. If they go off of what James Gunn has built, you look at another Frankenstein universe. Regardless, if they fire James, if they get rid of James Gunn, if they don't re-sign him, people are going to be upset because you have this Frankenstein universe or this new universe. If they keep him, you're still going to have the pissed off Snyder fans. So if a new company comes in, they're in a lose-lose situation. So they ultimately have to do what is best for their company and what they think is best for the longevity of the brand. And as I went through here, yes, I made a case for James Gunn to keep his job. But I also highlighted the aspects of why it's important to keep the person who's at the head of the studio, the head of the creative, there. Even if it's just for a little bit longer. Even if it's just to showcase, like, hey, let him have a chance to fail or succeed. Because that's important. Now, I know people are going to come here and say, well, Slav, you just want James Gunn to stay there because you want to be right. You don't want Zack Snyder to come back, or you just want the people who hate James Gunn to be wrong. And it's not that. Again, I just want DC to succeed. I want DC to succeed. It's that simple. It is that easy. There's nothing more to it than that. Do I have fun debating and arguing with people on social media about things? Absolutely. I've been open and honest about that from the very beginning, that I enjoy debating and arguing with people. I've been very open and honest about that. But I've also been very honest and open about the fact that, look, if it wasn't James Gunn running DC Studios, I'd be supporting DC Studios. Because I want to see good DC content. I want to see successful DC Studios. That's what I want to see. And I think that coming in there, any new company going in there and just booting him out the door before he has a chance to truly show whether he's a failure or a success is a fool's move. It's a fool's move. And I highlighted why in this article. But again, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say about all of this. I know, Arturo, prepare to say goodbye to JG, and your head's all blue and worried for some reason. I don't know, whatever. Trayvon says, if Gunn was out, then why was his partner in crime, Safran, on the verge of being promoted? That's the thing. If they were going to promote Safran, that means that James Gunn would have either been promoted to more duties at DC Studios, or they would have had to find somebody to work alongside him. You know, again, like, I don't know. Excuse me. Excuse me. Critic Chris says, that's what I think, Slav. If DCU fails, that's the whole shared universe will be on hold 10 plus years. They'll be back to solo movies of DC's two big names all over again. Trayvon says, remember, Warner Media and Ed Sarnoff kept Toby Emmerich and Walter Hamada around even after AT&T took control of Time Warner, and their original boss, Kevin Tushihara, was ousted from Warner Brothers. Correct. That does happen sometimes. Heck, there's been even talks of Paramount trying, some of their offers keeping Zaslav. So, like, who knows what's going to happen? Good, Chris, if DC fails, a general audience will think superhero movies have died out like Western movies did. They kind of are already. It's like when MTV Networks found itself under new corporate oversight. Sumner Redstone, Frank Biondi, and Michael Carmanzin. They didn't fire Tom Freston. They shared what they were planning, and they kept him. Man, you just... some of you people know so much about acquisitions of the past, and it just baffles me. Like, I had no idea about all that MTV stuff. It just baffles me how you guys know some of this. Crazy. But yeah, that's it, guys. I wanted to talk about that this week. I hope I didn't bore you guys to death. But yeah, that's about it. Next week, I think baseball season's over for my kids. The fall baseball season's over tomorrow. Awesome. So might be switching Watchtower back to Thursdays, but keep an eye out for that. And with that, my regular show should be Monday. I don't think I have anything going on Monday, but we'll be back next week for sure. But yeah, thanks for joining me tonight, guys. It was great. I can't wait to do show again next week. And yeah, I guess that's it. Let me know your thoughts on everything. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, do all that fun stuff. But with all that said, guys, I will catch you all later.